Right. All right. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed Kirure's music for today. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. This is session 2 of Metrics and Cadences. And so we're glad to be with you this morning. As usual, last week I let people get away with no cameras, but today we actually want to see you. Shout out to Beverly, Francis. You already know the drill. Good to see you guys. Thanks, Gerald, Faith. Hi, Peterson. You're on the road today.
Of course, yes.
I hope you're going to see customers or coming from seeing customers.
Yes, I think that is the exercise at the moment,
Yeah.
because I think the program is teaching us things that we didn't know.
Yeah.
This again, yeah, doing what
Oh, we lost you a bit, but it's good to see you. Pauline as well. Hi. Can see the people who are on the move. No worries. Yeah, welcome to the session. Today we get to go back into metrics and cadences. So it was good to see what parts landed from the last session, and we can go more in depth on it today. We're really gonna be tackling the 3 layers of metrics. So I hope you've written the question that you want most answered in the session. So I think those were sent on WhatsApp. If you have your priming link, you can make sure that you've sent it in. You've answered the question that was sent on WhatsApp. All right, but even as we do, let's get into the pulse of the day. So today we're asking, on a scale of 1 to 5, where you're at, and then what is one thing that you're bad at today that you want to be great at in a year? One thing that you're bad at today that you want to be great at in a year. You can fill in the pulse. It should have popped up on your screen. I'll give 2 minutes, and then I'll also pick some people to share with us in the room. So go ahead and fill in your pulse. Team Twiva, I hope we'll be seeing you today. Hi, Jane. And now, it'd be good to see if you can put your cameras on. Right, let me see if we've, okay. I can see some pulses have come in. All right, so let's start with Mercy of Tendepe. Where's your pulse this morning? Oh, I think you're muted.
Okay, good morning. My pulse today is at 4.
Okay, what's contributing to the 4?
There are a few, it was actually at a 5, but there's just something I had not completed last evening that has affected me this morning. So the week has been great.
Okay, so you're closing on a high.
Yeah.
For that one thing. All right. And for you, Mercy, what's one thing that you are bad at today that in 1 year you want to be really good at?
Multitasking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the time I find myself having so much to do, but with bad planning, I end up getting everything to be so urgent. Yeah, so I really want to be good at multitasking so that I can even have 10 to 15 tasks, but I'm able to plan well and deliver in each of them. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's an interesting one. So things are moving in multiple ways. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Mercy, and welcome to the call. I'll pick David from Desra. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning. I'm at 3. Yes.
What's contributing to the 3?
Weather is very cold. I've not taken coffee, so I think after the meeting we'll interact, and I will be at 4, closing by at 4.8.
Okay, after you have your morning coffee. All right. David, what's one thing you are bad at today that in 1 year you want to be good at?
To make sure our organization grow, and also I will put my team on task so that we, at the end of the year, we might manage to 15 to 20.
15 to 20%?
Yeah, not percent, the strength.
Oh, closing revenue.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's a clear target. Thanks, David. All right, let me pick someone from the CPF team. Doreen, how are you doing and where's your pulse?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm at a 2.
Okay.
I'm at a 2 this week. I'm not feeling very well, and also I've had a very, very busy week. Yeah,
Oh, Pole sana.
thank you.
Yeah, I hope you feel better and get some time to rest as well
Yeah,
for the
thanks.
weekend.
Mm.
All right. Thanks for joining anyway, Doreen. I'll ask now the community team. What's one thing that you're bad at today that you want to be great at in a year? Let me see who I'm gonna pick. Kiruri, what's one thing you're bad at today that you want to be great at?
The one thing I'm bad at today is, or not so good at, is writing. And that's the one thing I want to be super better at. Writing and storytelling in a year. So that's what I would want to be great at.
All right. And where's your
Thanks,
pulse
Ghana.
start?
My pulse is at a 3.5. The weather is doing the thing. I love the sun. So yeah. But good energy. Good energy.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Kiruri. Karen Kui, where's your pulse?
Hey.
Morning, everyone. Today, I think Doreen and I at around 2.5. I've had my coffee, so I think it's gonna go up. Something that I would like to get better at, but I'd like to get at is the trusting process. There's a for those of us who like to, it's very easy to just trust them. So the right time, you measure every day, it'll all get better. Ken?
Morning, everyone. I think my energy level climbed up. I started at 3.5 and I met the team earlier today. Now at 4. 0.5 from drinking tea. I'd like to get better at getting stuff from my head, ideas into the doodles, because once they get to the doodles, they get to the team and to the outside world. So I just find there's always a very huge lag. I almost procrastinate with ideas for a while. It takes like 3 to 4 weeks for them to get on.
Yeah, that one is I think we'll all benefit from having the doodles come out fast. Yeah, because the ideas are very useful, and you'll get to see a bit of the doodles, especially on metrics this coming week for everyone in the room. All right, I think generally
But it's not great.
Sorry, Ken, I think there's a bit of a lag. All right. Okay, I think we can conclude that pulse in the room is quite high. Or at least some people are also climbing, and we hope that the session adds energy in that way. So for today's session, we'd introduced the concept of metrics in the last session. And generally, even as you've been filling in the reflections on the frog, the thing that we've really underlined in the past few weeks is how are you going to measure impact on your frog? Remember, we're working a journey from how are we getting customer insights, then identifying the things we need to solve. And now we're at the point where we get to really measure and see how they're improving over time. And so last week we introduced the 3 layers of metrics, and we shared this quote that is really gonna be our guiding frame. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. And so today we're gonna walk through those 3 layers. I know there was a bit of confusion, and we hope we can clarify a bit of that today so that we're also empowering you to know exactly what to measure. So, as we usually do, let's start out with the rowers of the week. And so, I think for today, the rowers of the week are the CK&Co Advocates team. So I can see Liz on camera. Hi, Liz. You're even smiling like someone who's the rower of the week.
Oh my God.
So let's just shout out to you. Let's put the clapping emojis for them. Good job on being rowers of the week. So it's Liz and wait, I'm trying to see. Yeah, shout out to Liz. Where are you joining together?
Oh, okay. My colleague Christine has an apology because she has an early meeting, which is very sensitive that she has to attend to it. Apologies for that.
All right, no worries. I guess you'll be representing the team today, but you look like you have the energy to do so.
Oh my God, I'm just trying.
All right, great. So I'm gonna hand over to Koi to take us through what the reflection is. And I know she has some questions for you.
Okay.
So Koi, over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good to see those who are on camera. Liz, hi. We'll miss Christine, but I'm sure you'll represent. Congratulations
Yeah.
more on
Thank
making
you.
a row of the week.
Thank
So
you.
let's start with CK&Co. Tell us about the vision for the farm.
Okay. The vision that we have, or the vision that we are creating right now, is for us to, when the name CK&Co is mentioned, everybody is like, oh, I know that one. I know that one. That is the vision that we have. You see, like the way we mention things like Safaricom or these big things. That is what we want to create. When our founder is named, a name is mentioned, everybody is like, oh, I want to be associated with this lady. So that is what we want to create as a CK&Co Advocate.
So as CK&Co Advocates, you want to be known as a brand name. The people know Safaricom, the people know EABL. In that same line, also mention CK&Co. And that's why you're doing the work towards building that business. So when we talked about the frogs, you identified your frogs. And then last week, you introduced measurement. What are some of the things that came up when you were outlining or thinking about what to be measuring, especially based on the 3 layers?
For us, the things we need to measure, and we have identified it as a frog, actually a big one, is being busy, but doing work that is not paying, that work that will not pay at the end of the day. But we are very busy. The work we are doing is work that will actually not pay, or work that will just bring maybe a 1 to 1% to 5% additional revenue. Whereas that time can be used to do some work that will bring maybe 40 to 50% revenue. So that is a frog that we have identified, and it's affecting everyone in the farm because there's no day that we are not busy. But now we're asking ourselves this question: what are we busy doing? Are we doing work that is bringing in revenue, or are we doing work that is not even paying? So at the end of the day, we find ourselves doing work and not getting paid for the work that we're doing.
Okay, all right. And okay, very interesting, Frog. And you said that this now went through the whole law firm, like it's applicable to everybody, the busy work. Liz, we are still together. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, all right. So what exercise did you do that allowed you to establish busy work, no money or less money, and meaningful work?
We went back to we reviewed the billing data and the statements from 2025, the month of June. So that is how far I have the access to the statements and this money that is this. So if we had, and then we are now getting paid that time. So that is the questions we were asking us. Then we tried to identify the clients who we did work on that month and then they paid exactly the same month, or they paid even before we did the work. So that is the data we used, June 25 and today. And then we found that there are some months that you can say we were busy, like December, we were really busy. But actually the revenue that came in doesn't match the business that we had in the farm.
Okay. So I didn't hear the numbers very clearly. I don't know, I think maybe it might have been our network, but what I heard is that you measured from June last year. You looked at the revenue versus the time you were applying, also versus the quality of client, like when are they paying you? You realized, especially you singled out the month of December.
Yes.
December, you were not sleeping.
Yes, we were very busy. The pressure was really high.
The pressure was high. What was the growth between November and December?
Maybe we can give it. Sorry, it dropped.
It dropped.
It dropped. Yes, December the income dropped.
Okay.
So that is that is what we were able to identify. That this December that we were very busy, actually the revenue dropped from November.
Very interesting. Before I continue, who has a question or perspective for Liz around the room? And my team will help me in case there's someone who's putting up their hand, dying to say something. Okay. Who are the Cynthia? Who is in service like CK and Co? Would that be maybe Kinetics? Gerald, I saw you on the call.
We have Beverly.
Oh yes, Beverly from
Israel
as well. So Beverly, when you listen to Liz, what resonates?
I just knew it was going to be me. Good morning.
Good
Okay,
morning.
well, actually, as I'm listening to her, at that last bit about you've been so busy, but the revenue has dropped. It made my mind churn because I'm wondering, there are times when we're so busy with our internal processes, but we find that that is not translating into our output with the client. So it's made me start to think, okay, maybe we are working hard and not working smart internally, and it is not reflecting on the revenue. So that's where I'm at. I'm like in the middle of a brainstorm about that with myself.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Beverly. Good to see you. How about you, Gerald? Kinetics, and I think Stawi as well.
Yeah, thank you
Gerald?
so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think listening to her, I can sort of relate because we've had discussions in the past where it almost seems as though you're focusing on the wrong things because you're busy working and seem to be closing off whatever tasks that you have, but the same do not relate to the rewards that you probably expect that in terms of payment from the client. So keen to listen and hear more of their experience. And, because ideally, I think it's the element of probably focusing on the wrong stuff, or maybe because nobody actually pays for being busy, but I think it's for being productive. So it seems like whatever we're doing maybe is not as productive as it's supposed to be as much as we are busy. So I can relate.
So nobody pays for being busy, but for being productive. I like that because it's about output to the customer. All right. Thanks, Gerald. And how about Abigail from Stawi?
Good morning, everyone. Apologies, I'm not in a position to have my camera on, but actually, I'm really happy that actually someone literally spoke what was in my mind because it's been in my mind and I've never been able to actually raise it with my team. You'll find for almost 2 months, almost a month, everybody's busy. There's meetings, discussions, planning. But if you look at sales leads or sales won on money coming in at the end of that month, nothing. So I'm really excited about this discussion, and I look forward to seeing, as much as we are busy, how do we balance and ensure that we're busy, yes, but something is coming into the business, and also if we could also touch into how to have this discussion with our founders and the wider team so that we find a solution and the way forward.
Okay. Thanks, Abigail. I'm glad that it is speaking to you that much, which is the value of sharing. And that's why for us, this is such a critical part because, like Abigail asked, how do I explain it to the rest of the team? How do I explain it to the founder? What do we then do? And the very genesis of it is measuring. Because until Liz sat and looked at numbers from June last year, and then she looked at December and wondered, I worked so hard, and yet revenue dropped. You know, that one is not a feeling. It's actually a fact, a statement of fact. So once you did this measurement, what is the conversation that happened, Liz? Amongst you, at least you and Christine. I don't know if you've gone to your founder yet, because it's only been this week.
Yeah, okay. Because we reviewed it yesterday, immediately we saw how the numbers are going. We ran to the founder's office immediately and we addressed it as an emergency because how can we be, we have never thought of like looking at the numbers because I'm the only one who have the access to the numbers, me and the founder now. So, and it has never hit us that we need to review these numbers like it did now until now we started the classes. So when we found this with Christine, we were like, the way we were busy and then this is what we are getting. No, we need to do something about this. So we went to the founder's office, and we will be having a serious meeting with the entire team to see what we can do and what we can change, because something needs to be done immediately. This is an emergency.
Okay, okay. Wow. And I think Christine also hinted a little bit towards overwhelm and just not being able to delegate. Also, in terms of the impact of that busyness on all of you. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
You see, now about that is when now the founder trusts you with certain things, and then she expects, Christine is a senior associate. So she is expected to delegate some duties to either me or another lady or the rest of the team. She can delegate duties to the rest of the team. She's a senior associate. But now she finds herself getting in between, delegating, and now somebody not doing exactly what she wants. So she will end up repeating whatever she has delegated you to do. So she would rather just do it than giving it to another person and then afanye vibaya. So instead of sasa atafanya vibaya, atakasirika. So instead of that, she just decides, let me just do this. It's a quick one. Let me just do this. And then I continue with the rest of the work. And such works you will find they are just the small ones, maybe like getting an affidavit or certifying some documents or this. Okay, I'm not calling them small works because they still matter, but there are things that will just bring maybe 1% or 5% of revenue. They're just things that will increase the revenue with in between 1% and 5%. Whereas the things maybe she stopped doing is something that can bring in 50% revenue. So you find now she's in between, she's getting overwhelmed because now she's so busy and she has to stop doing the things that can bring in revenue, whereas she could just have delegated it to another person and just guided them on how to do it. It's maybe a motivation or something.
Thanks for sharing, Liz. That is very clear. And that's actually essentially it. We want to make your lives way, way easier as rowers. The fact that you're rowers on this program means that you're at the highest risk of burning out, at the highest risk of working very hard and not earning more money. Because you can imagine how busy you are that December. If you made less income, then definitely the bonuses didn't look like the hard work you had put in. And so because you're at the highest risk, that's why you're on this program, because we say the thing that's the most objective compass or signal is measuring. Because I can tell your energy now has changed. You're like, this is an emergency. You're shocked that you've done so much work for such little revenue. And even for Christine, who's not able to delegate what you're calling, maybe lower value tasks like the affidavits, certifying documentation, if she actually understands this is 1% of revenue, whereas this client file that I'm putting aside is 50% of revenue, then she manages the work differently. She measures differently. She delegates differently. And so these are good starting points, but we have to start with self-awareness and just understanding. Is there someone else who's had an epiphany as big as the CK & Co team? When you looked at your frog and then we introduced the concept of measuring and is ready to share? Maybe Desra, they're on the ground with their customers. Change curtains. I can see Frida holding her. She's thinking hard. Frida, how are you?
Hi, Koi, I'm well.
What's running through your mind? You look like you're thinking very hard.
Yeah, I think it also applies to us. Because, like, for example, last year, December, we were very, very busy, and the numbers did not reflect the hard work we were putting in. So it's quite the same.
Yeah. And I think you started your measuring exercise with your frog last time. I remember your frog very well, which was to do with the accuracy of measuring the curtains. How is that project?
Okay, so I've discussed with the head technician, so we're supposed to hold a meeting with the rest of the team, the technicians especially, so that we come up with a way on how to train them. But he's currently not at work, so we've not been able to have that yet.
Okay. All right. Work in progress. Like I said, identifying is the biggest thing. Thanks, Frida, for sharing, and good to see you. Before I hand over to Ken for him to take us through this concept of measurement, I want to hear from the Twiva team, because they have two customers, I think, dual-sided. Jane, what is resonating when you listen to Liz's story?
Outside?
You're outside.
Yes. Can you hear me? So allow me to talk.
If you just stop.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think we go through this every day. Because you see, for us, we have two primary customers, and one thing that I can relate to PK is that we do a lot of proposals, right? So you find that you could be very busy doing proposals with clients, like you have a lot of work on the desk, but the turnaround of these proposals is maybe not quick as you want it to go, or maybe clients keep taking you back to maybe selection of our other customers who is the creators. So now when PK Cynthia says about being busy, but then when you go back to the end month, you're like, okay, I did all these proposals, we've been very busy, we've been leaving them late. But then when you look at probably the revenue that has come out of those proposals, you still see you have been doing a lot of work. So I feel like when I look at that particular segment, I think it also affects us, and this is now part of one of our primary customers, which is the brand. And maybe now when I'm listening to this conversation, I'm like, do we need to come up maybe on the process of how we do the proposal? Because you find that when we engage with customers, brands specifically, they will be like, before even we sign the contract, they want, because we are selling to them the creators, who is also part of our customers. They want us to share with them the creators before even we sign the contract with them. So we do a lot of work on that process, and we share that with them in some instances. Then we have a risk to this, because they could decide, you've already shared with me, let me work on with them and remove you guys. So I feel like it's actually something we probably need to go back and come up on. How do we ensure that the process or the business we have with our clients to the closing stage and to the execution is somehow figured out? I don't know if there's someone who could relate with me, but I think what Cindy is saying, it really resonates, because we are always very busy with proposals. Every day you go pitch, you have to do proposals, think for the client, do strategies for the client. But then we've still not signed the contract. But that's also part of pitching, because they have to see, okay, you come to me, you want to support me market, so help me get the actualization. What do you think would work for me? So I think I would comment on that, Koi, but then it's a long conversation.
Yes, no, but very, very helpful. Thank you, Jane, for sharing. You're doing a lot of proposals, and if you're not measuring, you don't even know whether you're doing low value work, if you're targeting the right customer, because believe it or not every customer is a good customer. You know, the thing is that you feel obliged. You're like, I want to serve everybody. I don't want to say no. It's not good for our brand. And that's the value of measuring, is that it's an objective way where it's not a feeling or a vibe. That number is the one that tells you. And the purpose of business is to make more money tomorrow than you made today. That is the purpose of business. Because even you, Jane, your needs tomorrow, when you walk into the supermarket 2026, it's different from 2025. So you need to have made more money this year than last year. But the only way to all start working towards the right thing for the business is because you've measured. Because if you go to your founder and you say, I'm doing busy work, I'm doing too many proposals, he'll be like, has Jane become lazy? I put her in the ROAS program. But when there is a number, a measure, it makes all the difference. So totally understood, and thank you for sharing. Team Destra, I know you relate to, especially because I remember your frog. You deliver lots and lots of bread and not collect the money in the same way you're delivering. Anyone want to share? You're also going through a measurement exercise, I think, with your customers. Faith from Destra, hi. Oh, Jim Lee wants to share. I've seen he's unmuted. Hi, Jim Lee.
Hi.
Yes.
I think the story is related to our side because I'm an operations manager. When I check the numbers of production, especially from last month, and what is being collected, it doesn't match because we produce a lot. There's an increase in production. But what is being collected really, you find that it is almost the same, and at times it declines. So you find that you are too busy producing, but in return, we are collecting very little. So I think the story is almost the same, and it is the same as ours. So it's a pretty challenge. That is where I pick the point that it's we have the customers. Not all the customers are good. How can we concentrate with this? Like now, the metric of on-time delivery, because you find that those good customers, if the good customers, they are being affected by bad customers because we wait all the time for the bad customers, the troublesome customers to pay, which affects the other customers who have paid earlier. So I think that is a challenge we have in Destra also. Yeah. Back to you.
Thank you, Jim Lee. And once you measure and you say these customers, they are problematic, they don't pay on time, they're affecting our on-time delivery for these other good customers, that's where cadence comes in, because every time you're talking about it, that means you have to do something about it. So it's not just measuring, you also have to cadence it so that then it makes sense. But yeah, you're very, very right. Thanks for sharing. CPF team, I know you have a unique situation in that your customers are internal. Your teammates, your colleagues are internal. But you have to choose the projects you want to invest time in, and you have to measure if they're successful. What resonates from Liz's story? Franklin or Doreen? I know Doreen is at her 2 today, so I don't want to harass her too much. Franklin?
Good morning, team.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yeah, so what resonates is more the same what we face, but the prototypes that we want to scale into production still get delays in approval. So if we would scale it into production, that we would now get revenue to our teams.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing, Franklin. And there's an element of measurement as well. Which prototype, why? You have to measure, and for which client internally. Because all your prototypes, you're not creating products just for the air. It's for your clients to use so that the business makes money. And so what comes out of that shipping line first? There is also an element of measurement. So I can't belabor the point. Liz, you have been fantastic at explaining this problem, and you can see everyone resonates, not just even people in service. It's just for all of you. Thank you so much for sharing. And before I want to hand over to Ken, I just want to reiterate: what gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets done. We want to make sure that all of you have gold stars at the end of the year, but more importantly, money in your pockets. All right. Kenna, we're good?
Yes, we're good. I think we've bubbled up a few important themes, and now we can just go into now metrics. I'm also seeing, a lot of the questions from the priming exercise were about how do I think about, what I'm measuring? How is it not just a number? It's actually something that moves progress in the business. So yeah, over to you, Ken, to walk us through that frame.
Okay.
You can hear me?
The last bit we didn't hear, a lot of people are out.
Is it possible to just look at some kind of analysis of the priming questions?
Yeah, I can send those across. I'll put them in the.
Because that's everybody's.
Yeah, I can put those in the chat. The big themes that came up. Ken and Koi, I think the connection is on your side.
Our network is
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
We can hear now.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, there's a bit of a lag. Sorry about that, but we might be the ones going off camera.
Okay.
But we'll see.
So I've got a question. We're going to walk through this doodle. Which was a very interesting exercise. On show by by what sign? If you how many have a mirror at home? No.
Sorry, Ken and Koi, we're breaking quite a bit. Let's give them a chance to rejoin. Sorry, everyone. Let's just give 5 minutes. We fix what's happening, and then we'll start from here.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Our enemies shall not prosper. We will all learn to measure.
Yeah. So, so everybody has a mirror at home. Second question: how many people didn't look at the mirror today when you left home? You woke up, you showered, you dressed, you did your hair, didn't bother to look at the mirror. You ran out and you came to the call. All right.
We've asked to put an
Third
emoji in
question:
the
what is the worst thing that can happen if you left the house in the morning? Mm. What's the worst thing that can happen if you left? Any brave one? One day you just be brave enough. You wake up, you shower, you don't bother looking at the mirror, and you go to your work.
The Tendepe team have not spoken. Ask Katrine. Katrine, what would happen?
What would happen? What's the worst thing that can happen?
People will look at me funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
People look at you funny. Just people look at her funny.
Maybe there's toothpaste on my face. Maybe there's soap on my hair.
And so Katrine, I guess you looked at so you looked at the mirror for sure, Katrine, right?
Yeah.
So, my dear Komini, my dear ladies and gentlemen, running a business without looking at
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Am I the only one losing Ken and Kwe? It's breaking.
Without looking at numbers is.
Sorry, Ken, we're losing you.
All right, just We try again.
Is that better? Kenna, can you hear?
Yeah, it's coming in. Let's try it. I can hear you now.
Okay. So can you were talking about
Yeah, no.
looking in the mirror?
We working. Can't hear.
No, we can't hear. Right. So what we're gonna do is take a 3-minute stretch break. If you need to stretch or get something to drink or something like that, you can do that now. And then at 9:03, we'll rejoin. And in that time, we'll just try and see how we fix the connection problem. Sounds good? All right, just put a thumbs up so I know we are still together. Good. All right, so 9:03. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Sorry, guys. Both my connections seem to misbehave today. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. That one's better. At least it's not breaking.
Can I give everyone a stage break? Are they back?
Got it. You've given everybody a break for what, like a minute?
Till 9:03. 3 more minutes. Right. Okay. We are back now. I think that meant that it was gonna be such a good session. Hence the interruption had to try and get in the way, but we should be good now. Can let's hear your sound to ensure that we are good.
Hi guys, so sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, that sounds better.
My face slept on my sofa today. My face low. So guys, I think connection issue. I think it's very clear. There's nobody that left the house without looking at the mirror. And yet, many of us, in very many times, go to the business in the same way because spend more time at work than at home, without so on. We work.
It's far and muffled.
We go to work, spend a lot of our lives without mirrors. How crazy is that? So I think through this presentation, maybe we walk through this mirror of the business, this thing called metrics. What are the pieces of those metrics? And there are three things to think about. There is the metrics, the numbers, the measuring. That's the number one most important thing. Second most important thing is rhythm and rituals. I suspect that you probably check the mirror after you're showered and dressed. There's a sequence, right? And every one of you and every one of us has a ritual around the mirror. So when you think about a business and think about metrics, think about it in the same way. There's a ritual. You repeat it every day, and somehow, without that ritual, it doesn't seem complete. I think that's the second most important thing. And the third most important thing is standards and culture. If you look at the mirror and you don't like what you see, what do? You make some adjustments. If I don't like the color of the shirt, how the shirt is looking, yeah, you kind of change it. And if you don't like how your hair is looking, you comment. So the numbers are super important. Yes, that's what you see, what they tell you, what the mirror tells you. The rhythm and rituals are important. The fact that you do that every time before you get out of the house in the morning. And then the standards and culture. You have a way that you want to look. You have a way that you want to go out into the world for that particular day. So if you don't like what you see, you change it. That's standards and culture. So every time you think about these three things, use a mirror analogy and understand actually that it's not the end of the world if you don't actually look at a mirror in the morning. But it's the end of the world if you don't look at the business mirror, because eventually businesses that don't look at the mirror never survive. I'll repeat that. Businesses that don't look in the mirror don't survive. So let's break down these three things. So when you think about metrics and numbers and measuring, yeah, I think the quote that always resonated with me is basically this one. What gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets managed, right? I love that story from CK, where as soon as you looked at the numbers, you instantly ran to the founder's office. That's what happens when you start to look at numbers. It creates a sense of urgency. It tells you some things that are off, there's some things that you need to manage. It's the same thing. You look at the mirror and you're like, oh my God, my hair can't look like that. I'm going to put something on my head. So what gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets done. You're all rowers on this call. So when you start to manage something changes, something positive happens. Now, the second thing, which is the rhythm and rituals. It's very, in rhythm and rituals, so it's good to measure, but you need to measure with the right frequency. It's in the same way that, when you do your mirror ritual at home, you probably do it every time you take a shower or every time you leave the house. If you leave the house twice a day, you do that. If you leave the house once a day, you do. There's a rhythm. It's not random. It's not in crisis only. There's a rhythm. You do it very consistently around a certain point, consistently. Now, there are very many businesses, you'd be very surprised, that do this thing called doing books at the end of the year. I used to have one. I was a rower in a business like that. My first business, I was a founder in a business where we used to do books at the end of the year. There was a he used to come, an accountant, used to come and collect receipts. He had a paper bag, puts the receipt in the paper bag. There was no laptops, computers were not as prevalent as they are today. And so you just go away and do books. And essentially, we did books to file taxes. We were not using these things as a mirror business, to manage the business, to improve the business, to grow the business. So cadence, that nice word, cadence, rhythm, is a very, very important part of numbers. So as you think about the numbers, you also think about the rhythm and rituals. And then the third thing is standards. That simple act of saying, I'm not going to tolerate my hair the way it looks. I'm not, oh no, this, for the meetings that I have made, this look doesn't work. It's standards. There's a way in which you want to look and appear to the outside world. There's a way in which things feel proper. So exceptional businesses have very high standards, and they have no apologies for them. Just same as we are. If you don't like what you look in the mirror, you go back and change sometimes. If you don't like how it looks, you comb it, or wear something on the hair. Like standards are around the fact that saying, look, this is the standard we are willing to tolerate. Anything else has got to change. And that's a simple idea around this. So they're not very, very complicated, to be quite honest. They're very simple principles, just that it's become so normal not to run businesses with metrics that we think it's normal. It's actually not normal to run. You don't build a good business without actually measuring, without having rhythms around measuring, and without having standards, and then without enforcing and driving standards. So let's try and explore these things from the lenses of two stories too. And there's the first one, which is your favorite story.
people really like the story of Safaricom. I guess it's a brand we all use. So it resonates very well. And it'll be nice to do together with the community team, this banter around communities. Like what do our metrics look like? And what can we learn from that? Now, the story of Safaricom, there's two characters. And I've had a very fortunate career. I watched and witnessed Safaricom. They were one of my early customers in my previous business, 3Mice. And then they were largest partner in my second business, Seriland. And I met these two people in the course of that. Now, Safaricom, today it's larger than life, like it's a government on its own. What people forget actually is that in 2000, when Safaricom launched in October, Safaricom it was a department of an old government parastatal called Kenya Posts and Telecommunications many years ago. It was a department, it was a parastatal, it had 17,000 customers and an old net. If you applied for a mobile phone, you got it after 2 years. So when Michael Joseph came to Kenya to build Safaricom, when Vodafone invested in Safaricom, they had only 17,000 customers, and his shareholders gave only $20 million. At that time, $20 million was probably about maybe 1.4 billion shillings. 1.4 billion shillings only. There's a business on this call that is bigger than that size, actually. Just so you know. Today it's larger than life, but it was not. That's not where it started. Their competitor, Kensel, at the time, had 5 times the money they had and nearly 4 times the number of customers. And Safaricom launched nearly 7 months later. Less money, fewer customers, 7 months late. So sometimes you can think that it's big businesses that measure, but actually that's not the story. It is because you measure and that you have a very tight rhythm, disciplined rhythm around numbers, and that you're unapologetic about standards. That's why you become big. So Safaricom didn't measure because it became big. Safaricom became big because they were very disciplined about measuring. They were very unapologetic about an insanely high standard. And this particular story centers around 2 people. One is Michael Joseph. The other one, we used to call him MJ. And the other one is Peter Arena, aka PA. Nice looking guys. Very nice looking guys. I'll tell you my first story. When I first met Michael Joseph, I was 27. I was a young guy. I was running 3Mice, which was my first business. We had started 3Mice in 98. So I was a technology guy. I used to sit behind the screen and never met customers. And then somehow, I kind of decided that my career was probably, I decided, maybe being a technology guy, always at the back screen, I didn't see a path to wealth. I figured if you solve customer problems, you probably have a chance of making more money. So I decided that I would be following the sales guys. So in one of those meetings, we ended up in a meeting with Michael Joseph. He was the CEO of Safaricom at that time. Safaricom then was a small company. They were just launching. And it was the first time for me, frankly, I had met the CEO of a business that was rapidly growing, a business that wanted to be really large. very interesting guy. He came into the meeting. He hardly even said hello to anybody. He kind of looked at the meeting and just said, "Who are you guys and what do you want?" And very tough meeting. But after somewhat like 15, 20 minutes, he liked something that we presented and said, "So this thing, like it, how much, how long?" So I remember telling him, "Look, I mean, I think it's about, $200,000, 3 months." He looked at me, 3 months, just said, 3 months, we don't have 3 months. He says, "I'm happy to do it for $200,000 if you do it in 30 days. And he said, and if you can't do it in 30 days, take it to council. I'm not interested." So this, for me, was a very, high adrenaline meeting. I walk out of that meeting, I'm like, what the hell? It's like a CEOs like this, man, I should have stayed in technology where people are politer, nice. You don't talk to anyone, you just write your code and so on. So that's a thing with Michael Joseph. Now, what happened? We missed that deadline. We didn't deliver 30 days. On the 30th day at 5:30, we got a termination letter from Safaricom. He just terminated the project, and there was some work we were doing for them on a retainer basis. They terminated that contract. That day, I went to the team and I took them to the boardroom. I said, "Today, please call your families and so on. No one is leaving this room until we understand the lesson there." Because we were not called, nobody called us to ask us why the project was late, no one. So I want you to hold that thought. That was 2002 when I met Michael. So Safaricom then was a very small business. You could tell there was an energy around this company, that it was going to be something, but it was still a very small company. They were just providing a very interesting service, mobile telephones, right, which was starting. 12 years later, in 2014, I attended a leadership program. Now, this time, Safaricom was like a big thing. Safaricom was big. And I had moved on from 3 Mice, had built Cellulant, and now Cellulant was also a big company. And so we were in a leadership class with PA, and somewhere we were just sharing. And I just asked him, what's your job like, so on. And Peter never even used to meet ministers. Safaricom was that big at that time. So he told me, look, he just told me, look, I mean, every Thursday, I drive out, I pick a route at random, I drive out just, around our distribution network. And then I drive back to Nairobi by Saturday evening because our family day. Yeah, so I said, okay, so what happens? What do you mean drive out? Like you drive yourself? He says, yeah, I drive myself. And then it's like, yeah, that's how I check that our distribution is working properly. And then he explained to me that, he stops at each one of these centers. Sometimes there are many shops, picks a shop at random, goes into the shop. He looks around to see whether they can see the posters for their latest promo. He asks the shopkeeper whether they have SIM cards and asks them whether they have scratch cards. Very simple. Simple behavior, simple rhythm, very insightful questions. Do you have SIM cards? Do you have scratch cards? Can I see your promo posters? So Thursday is driving, Friday is driving, Saturday is driving. And now, and you remember that story, getting fired, 30 days, no story, no explanation. And so Peter said, so when I get to the office on Monday, I call the distribution leaders. And we review what I saw across the shop. And if I didn't like anything that I saw, like let's say, consistently your shops across your routes, they just did not have scratch cards, posters, and so on, you just went home. There was no discussion. I just say, wow. Like, I said, so how often do you do that? Do you pick some days at random? No, he said, I've done that every Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the last 10 years. Now, mind you, in 2014, Safaricom was already the largest business in Eastern Africa by far. Peter Arena did not have time to meet ministers, by the way. There were some people in Safaricom's team that would just say, I'm going to a ministry, we are trying to sell to a ministry, the PS and the minister. Peter would just say, do your work, boss. But Peter was focused on the customer, because the customer was the mwananchi who needs to buy who wants a line, who wants to make a call, who wants to get all these SMS and win promos, right? That's their Safaricom's mass market customer. And so that was his rhythm. So it doesn't matter how senior he was. And this was not a team carrying everybody feel visit. In fact, he told me at one point, people used to collude with the network engineers and just say, where is PA's phone? Because, when you have a mobile phone, the engineers can find where you are based on the base station. So at some point when he discovered they were doing that and they were sweet talking his PA, he used to leave his phone in the office. And he never used to tell his personal assistant which route he's going, because he wants to keep that element. It's like the network, the element of surprise. Now remember that story, 10 years, 3 days a week, every shopping center. Do you have SIM cards? Do you have scratch cards? Do you have promos? 12 years later, after the business has been started. And so I want us to pause a little bit around that story. And I want us to just consider that for a little bit. What do you make of that behavior? And what do you, so Peter was doing Thursday, Friday, Saturdays on the route. What do you think his managers, senior managers, area managers, what do you think they were doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What were those guys doing? Anyone? Kenna, you can volunteer people in the call.
Okay. Let me volunteer. Gerald. Kinetics. What are the people doing?
I think based on the uncertainty, maybe if they didn't know which route he would pick, then probably they were busy finding out how best they can ensure the 3 elements that you'll be looking for reach their specific destination.
Yeah. Ensuring that wherever he went, it would be up to standard.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Gerald. Alphonse? Desra, what were they doing during the week?
I think the entire week they were preparing to ensure that everything is in good place, so that at least they cannot be taken off guard. So I think the guy were really busy to ensure that everything is in good place and good shape here.
All right. So they were maintaining the standard on the ground, Ken.
Yeah, exactly. And if you understand that first statement we made is what gets measured gets done, right? I was doing some exercise and asking myself, and you guys can maybe ask yourself some of those exercises. So how many kilometers was this man covering every week? How many centers, how many shops was he asking that question every week? How many shops at random? you could almost think a little bit about by doing that. He was measuring the quality of service for how many customers. Because think about it, if you're on a mobile network, you go to a shop and they don't have a SIM card, it means you can't get service. And if you have a SIM card and you don't have airtime, the business can't make revenue, right? And the shops in the shopping centers, maybe one shop serves 20 people every day, isn't it? And maybe every day, Peter was kind of seeing 20 shops. So when you begin to think a little bit about that, this guy there were some metrics he was looking at. He was actually measuring the quality of service, quality of access to service for his customers. And he was doing that every day. And by so doing, at that level of leadership, he was sending the signal to his people that it doesn't matter what stories you tell me. If my customers don't have scratch cards, my customers don't have SIM cards, and my customers don't know the promos we are running, the bundles, this, and you've seen those things with Safaricom, win a pickup, win this, win that, right? Like that's the flavor of Safaricom over the years. And now, because of that thing, for that relentless behavior, because of that standard, the culture of business became, if you don't meet standard, there is no negotiation. So the business moved from being an underdog. Remember where we started? Safaricom had less money, fewer customers, 7 months late. Where are they today? 50 million customers, 400 billion shillings in annual revenue. It's just insane. Isn't it? It's almost unbelievable. And you saw how early they started driving standards. My meeting with Michael Joseph, 2002. What did he say? Love the idea, but if you can't put it out in 30 days, I'm not interested. You can go to competition. What was that he was emphasizing? Speed. Speed. Now think about it. So why did Safaricom become this big? Why did they win? They were faster than competition. And by doing it, what do they mean? It means base station, right? Like putting up base stations, getting SIM cards to market, getting scratch cards to market, getting promotions to market, just those things. They were doing them faster than anybody else. And they were making sure those things are everywhere in Kenya. Just by doing those things with such a high standard is now the difference between the business that had little money late to this business that's so dominant. Their position, we can't even think about Kenya without Safaricom. This number here is probably 30% of what KRA collects or something of that sort. Because KRA collects what, 3 trillion? So let's go back and now think about this thing called numbers, this mirror that we need to build for our businesses. How do we break them down and begin to build them for our business? And so the first thing we talked about was metrics, rhythms, and standards. So when we think about metrics, there are 3 layers of numbers. There are 3. The first layer, it's almost everything that we all think about. The first layer is revenue, margins, and costs. There was a very nice discussion early where we're talking about, for CK advocates, just how much money. So, how much money did you make in February? How much money did you make in March? Just important. How much margin did we make? How much did it cost us to serve those customers. I like that discussion based on number of hours that we've put in. So at the very top layer, you want to think about your revenues, your margins, your costs. At least at a very basic level, you need to start there. And I always say, you remember progress over perfection. Looking at a dirty mirror is better than looking at no mirror at all. So just that, look at the mirror, right? And in the olden days, what did people used to do? They used to look at the water, right? There were no mirrors. Before mirrors, people used to look at water or shine some bronze or something like that. So it doesn't need to be perfect at the beginning. You just need to start. Revenues, costs, margins. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you're facing customers, whether you're in operations or whatever it is, there is a part of that metric that you look at. And the next layer is sometimes something I like to refer ships and goods. Every business sells something. Every business sells a ship, sells goods. There's something you sell. You sell time, you sell a piece of bread. It's something you sell. How many of those things do you sell? And to how many customers? And by thinking about the things that you sell and to the customers you sell, it helps you understand why your revenues are happening, why your costs are happening. So that discussion earlier around which customers, how many hours, I like that discussion. Because if you're saying this particular customer, we spent 50 hours, we made 200,000 shillings from that customer. You're already looking at first level of metrics, second level of metrics. By just looking at that across a business, it informs a lot. And even that as a starting point is good. It starts to trigger the right kind of conversations. And then the third layer, which is always more difficult and more nuanced, because you want to understand where is the action happening, right? Like where, those kinds of things becomes very, very nuanced. And there you begin to break down things by product, by brands, by region, by mix. So if you run a retail shop, you could start by saying, hey, today we sold 200,000 shillings of product. We sold 200,000 shillings of product from 20 customers. And we have 5 products. 2 products sold the most. Now those are already, that story is numbers around 3 layers. You know how much you made. You know to how many customers you sold. And then you almost can see what customers are buying. And it's always very interesting. I remember some time back we were serving Tuskies. And for some reason, it became clear actually that the thing that sells the most is sugar and sausages for that supermarket. It was very interesting to know. I didn't know what to make. I wasn't running their business, but it was interesting to know. So then that if you have margins on sugar and you have margins on sausages, you will improve the margins of the business. So when you think about the layers of metrics, just start. Yeah, don't worry from day one. Don't worry about perfection. As you've seen from the stories going on here, just do an exercise of starting with numbers that have been reasonably thought about. They will improve over time. You will become a little bit more nuanced and more succinct over time. And if you start with 3 to 4 numbers that have different layers, that's also okay. They don't need to be 10. In fact, as you've seen in Com's business, they're almost tracking 4 numbers. Do you finish, which projects do you finish in 30 days? Do you have scratch cards? Do you have SIM cards? Are posters visible? Those are the 4 things those 2 gentlemen were looking at a very high level of the organization. They were saying, and for those 4 things, if you don't meet the standard, you go home. So it's not about starting off with 10 metrics. It's just starting off with 4 good metrics. Your revenue, your customers, your orders, your mix by product or by branch or by region or by branch, all of that. So let me pause there. And I know you guys have gone through an exercise thinking about some of these. What are the specific thoughts and challenges that you're having to determining what those are in your business?
All right, we can have a few people sharing. I know a lot of the questions that came up that we'd want to discuss is this third layer, especially. I'd like to hear from some people. How was it going through this reflection before you had before Ken has walked us through it? Does anyone feel like they want to share? Okay, let me see who I can pick. I'll pick Katrine. Katrine from 10-Day Pay.
Okay. So just from what Ken is saying, it actually now answers some of the questions that I had, because now for myself, I'm in CX and Ops. So during we've tried to do daily meetings, this cadence every day at 8:30 in the morning. So we were looking at almost 6 things. We were measuring around 6 things. But now, just from what Ken is saying, I think now I need to go back and now just figure out if I can just reduce that number to let's say the 4 or 3 things that actually have direct impact to the customer. So this has really helped, and I think it will be a good now. From what Ken has said, I think it's going to be easier for me to identify those things. Yeah. So we were looking at you'll find we were looking at the funding turnaround time. We are looking at reversals. We are looking at general inquiries. We are looking at recon. But what are those things that actually have direct impact to the customer and will assist in just driving the revenue?
All right, thanks, Katrine. So for you, if you just walk us through how you'd put down your metrics, what are those things specifically to your business?
Sorry, can come again?
Sorry, I'm just saying, what were those, when you think of your 3 layers, what were they specifically for your business?
So now for us, in terms of so we are looking at revenue. So the first layer, it's now what revenues are we making? Are we making monthly as a business? And then now this revenue is driven by the number of transactions and the number of customers we have in the system. Because now as the number of transactions increase, the number of the revenue increases. When the number of customers increase, the revenue increases as well. Now, I think what we need to actually now, I need to sit down and think really critically is what makes these customers transact more, or what will make us now get more customers. So I think that is the area now that I really need to critically think about.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
it's clear
yeah.
what.
Yes.
Oh,
Ken wants to jump in and say something.
okay.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, Katrine, that's yeah, that's certainly a worthwhile exercise to reflect on. Remember, the metrics and these numbers, the things that you measure, and sometimes they're quantitative, sometimes they're qualitative. If you look at Peter's behavior, do you have scratch cards? You can measure it, yes, because it's yes or no in how many shops. But it's a quality metric, right? It's something that you're measuring. You can determine whether it's happened or not happened, but it's quality. Remember, what are you trying to do? The purpose of business is very simple, and I like. I think is it Alphonse at Adesra? When you look at the number of loaves of bread you're producing, because that's hard. It's like at the end of the day, you want to sell more products to incredibly happy customers who come back.
That was Jim Lee. The one was talking
Yeah,
about
Jim Lee.
operations. Yes.
Yeah, that's all we are trying to do. You're trying to sell more products to very happy customers who come back. So if you think about the heart of measuring, it's those things. It's how many. What is that thing that you're selling? Loaves of bread. Okay, so if you're producing 100, you want to sell 100 loaves of bread, and you want to get paid for 100. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. You've got factories, you've got vans, you've got trucks, you've got 100 salespeople. All you're trying to do is to have a very simple story. We produce 100 very good quality loaves of bread. We want to get paid for 100 very high quality loaves of bread. Somewhere in there, something breaks. The quality of the loaves break, trucks break, people lie, men lie, women lie.
Numbers don't.
Numbers don't. In between those two things.
Yeah.
So, Katrine, it's the same thing. You sell to 150 customers every month. Those customers, there's a need they are using, they need to fulfill with your software. Are they fulfilling that need?
And are they paying for it in full?
And are they paying for it in full? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to design a system, say, okay, I have this number of revenues, great. I have this number of customers that are supporting those revenues. And then what makes those customers happy? What is my scratch cards, SIM cards, posters? What is that? How do I know that that thing has dropped, some quality has dropped? Maybe for you, Katrine, is to ask yourself, I am going to measure revenue, I'm going to measure customers, active customers. And I'm going to say active customers are customers who have done the number of transactions they should every week, every month or something. And then I'm going to measure the things that give me an indication that those customers are happy. And don't worry too much. At the beginning, you might start with 6 or 7 metrics. Some of them are repetitive. That's okay to start. Eventually, as you grow, as you get into the rhythm, you'll end up with very few. You'll end up with about 4. In fact, some businesses end up with 2 or 1 because of clarity. But that comes over time. But start. Revenue, customers, number of orders, an indicator that customers are happy. Those are the things that you're trying to manage.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Katrin. Because Ken and I were given a very specific assignment to make sure that everybody has a way of applying these 3 layers of metrics for their business. So for us, how we will measure at the end of this call, we need to be sure everybody is clear on this one point before we talk about your rhythms and rituals. Every business that's represented here, CK & Co, Tendepe, Destra, Sawari, Stawi, is there someone who is not clear, Twiva, about how to apply the 3 layers of metrics in their own context? More like speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay.
And don't worry,
That means
this deck will be uploaded on the platform.
yes, to allow you to think. But we would like everyone to just share on the chat box how they are thinking about metrics. What will they start to measure? And remember, Ken said progress, not perfection. Better look at a dirty mirror than no mirror at all. So don't feel the need to get it perfect today. As he said, you want to produce 100% of something, sell and collect for 100% of it. There's no business that's doing that today, even the very big businesses, but that is the journey we are walking. So very quickly on the chat box, I just want to ask for everybody to just write for us. So how are you thinking about what you will be measuring starting Monday? Yeah. Beverly, type yours.
I will give you exactly 2 minutes.
Jane, type yours. Gerald and Brenda of Kinetics, type. Team Desra, who's there? Is it Jim Lee? Is it Alphonse? Type yours. CPF, please type yours. Who am I missing? Let's see.
Jane of Twiva.
Jane, I've told her.
Brenda, Kinetics.
Yes. My team, Comini.
Comini, folks.
Guide us.
Yep. Well, Comini there.
Abigail has said, Abigail, good. Start with, before I've called you out, I'll start with measuring repeat clients and sales revenue. Fantastic. Brenda has said she'll start with measuring revenue, layer 1. Ken, what are your thoughts so far?
Glad that you're starting. Start.
That's what we're saying. Start. Hi, Brenda. Have we had Brenda's voice today?
Hi. I'm actually typing.
Hi. Oh, fantastic. Sorry, let me let you type. Go ahead and type.
Yeah.
Then Liz of CK & Co has said revenue, margins, and cost. Yeah, what is happening? Liz is very determined to make sure that December does not look like last December. Jim Lee, when you say layer 2, explain that a little bit more. Twiva, you will be measuring revenue and health of the brand's customers. Maybe that needs to be explained a little bit more. Jen, just give us a bit more, a bit more insight.
Okay. So on this, the key here is the revenue, right? And the margin comes because we usually get a percentage of the work we are doing in the brand, yeah? But that seems to be interrogated further because you remember when I told you that sometimes we are very busy doing proposals that take you even a whole day. But I think getting to look at the health of, I know on the layer 1 is the health of the business, but I also think the health of our customers. Now, when this branch we are looking at, part of the metrics because then it will determine the revenue that we're gonna track when we are working on these plans or having them on our pipeline, which is big. I don't know whether it's clear.
Yes, that's very clear. Ken, any thoughts there for Jane? As she's saying, not just revenue, is these brands.
Yeah.
What's their health like? So she's adding that other layer.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say you margins is taken because you take a percentage from what is earned, but you see you also have your own costs.
Yeah.
So you need to track your internal margins as well.
Yeah.
From that percentage you're taking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think about margins, you're thinking about costs, how much it costs you to serve a customer. So your technology costs, people costs, those kinds of costs are important to track. So when you sell a product, you track your inputs. So if you're selling bread, you track cost of flour, cost of mafuta, those kinds of things. Cost of electricity because you run ovens, fuel. A law firm, you are thinking about time and other, disbursements, third-party costs, all of those kinds of things. If you're people like Comini, we are thinking about, how much does it cost us to prepare for this lesson? How many people are needed? What are their salaries? What's the per hour cost of the business, and so on? And good business is about you want to grow your revenues. You want to improve your cost to serve over time. That's how you improve your margins and profitability.
Okay. And Jane, I agree. Yeah, it's good to look at also the customers, because ultimately it's how do you collect from the customers? And if their brands are not healthy, then you're not going to be collecting from them.
Yeah.
So there you're headed in some good direction. David, I want to come back to you because you say measure production and sales volume and collection. There's a specific question I have for Ken there. Beverly, client retention, contract growth.
Yeah.
Through the influence of team's KPI hit rate. Pauline, curtains, measure revenue, customer feedback, referrals, and cost to get to the customer the product. Yes. And there's a big frog because of the measurement accuracy. So at least for you and Frida, you'll be aligned in terms of measuring that thing, even when it's coming to you in Eldoret. Alphonse also says quality and consistency. Sarah, number of quotes or revenue generated from quotes. That's from Tanj. Brenda, how many products are completed on time and according to the required standard? Okay, Gerald needs help with layer 3. Before I get to Gerald, I want to when I look at like Team Destra, they have very specific metrics around, let's say one person has said production and sales volume and collection.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming David is because you're almost like looking at the sales. Alphonse is in production. So him talking about quality and consistency.
Yeah.
So specific metrics to me versus overall metrics of the business. How do you think about that when you're in your team? And then we'll go to Gerald's question.
Yeah. I like the questions and I like a lot the basic essence that's coming through your chats, guys. I think so when you think about revenue and margin and all of those, when you think hard about it, they're actually results. They are results of a system that gets a good product to customers and a system that keeps customers happy. So I would say almost like the middle, it's kind of the heart and soul of measuring. And you want to be obsessed about measuring customers and quality of service indicators around customers. So you have to obsess over finding what that really matters to your customers, because you will find that the moment you increase those metrics, everything else gets taken care of. If you think about the Safaricom story, if you can't deliver in 30 days, I'm not interested. What is that? It's about getting a service to the customer. So what Michael Joseph MJ was saying is that if you can't get, if your product, I can like your product, but if I can't put it in front of the customer in 30 days, I don't know whether the product works. So go away. I'm not interested. And that was the same that was the same mindset for putting out base stations and so on, getting service coverage. And then if I can't get you scratch cards and SIM cards and campaign posters, then I'm not giving you service. So if you think about bread, if you can't get bread on time to the kiosk, then it doesn't matter. That's what actually your customers are telling you. So when you think a little bit about that, you have to interrogate that and just say, what does on time mean? Is on time getting the bread to the kiosk by 6 o'clock every morning? Is that what on time is? If that is what on time is, you have to go out to customers and just tell them, look, is getting bread to you, what time do you want us to get the bread to you? And if you look across the customers and customers tell you, you need to get to the bread to us at 6 o'clock, then the thing to measure is to then say, today we produced 1,000 loaves of bread. How many of those loaves got to the customer before 6 o'clock? That's a very different, that system behaves very differently from a system that measures something else, like how much money did you collect? Because how much money you collect will be driven by how many things you are delivering to the customers. So you have to go back and think hard about what are those 1 or 2 measures that you relentlessly focus consistently around customers to show that customers are happy and they are willing to pay and they are willing to come back. Very important for each business. For Kinetics, if you think about the discussion we had there, which is about the recurrent SLA contracts, you have to go back to customers and just say, okay, so you guys have our software now. You're going to have it many years. What do you care about to be able to give us more business or support and so on? You have to find those things, and then you have to measure them. Same for Tende. Same for hospitality solutions. Same for CPF. What does customer happiness look like? And how do you measure it? Because what we are trying to do is to get a good service to happy customers who are happy paying us and who come back and who bring other people. That's all. If you do that, you have a good business. So measure that. Find it, debate, brainstorm. Find 1 or 2 things to measure. If Safaricom, as big as they became, focused on 4 things we can see from that story: speed of delivering projects to market, availability of scratch card at every shop, in every kiosk, in every corner, availability of SIM cards, and posters. 4 things, just 4. But when you think about all of those 4 things, they have something to do with the customer.
And I think to Gerald's question, where quality and customer satisfaction sit in the 3 layers, it sits in layer 3, because that's where you get a lot of insight. Well, I want to request for 5 minutes so that we wrap this up properly. Remember, even us, we have a KPI to deliver on. Ken did give some insight, but he didn't answer my question. And my question was, when you're in a team, how does it build up to the overall big metrics? But for everyone, me as an individual, I'm in operations, I'm in finance.
Yeah.
How do I look at metrics then, that then they then add up to what I'd call sub-metrics to the main ones?
Yes.
How do you think about defining that? Because someone is looking at product quality, they have to double down on that. So how do you think about that?
Understood. And I think that it's probably something we should explore in the next class.
Okay.
How these metrics translate to you.
So now we're looking at the overall company metrics.
Yes, because we all serve those metrics in one form. So let us start that process. And let's make sure that out of this week, that we have those 4 or 5, something like that, of metrics that are complete. The moment those metrics are complete, actually not just for you, it actually becomes very easy across the business for everybody to see what it is that they are a contributor to. And even those have layers, right? So let's do the 4 for the company. And let's remember it's a mirror. So it's not about you alone. You have to design those metrics, but then also those metrics, everybody has to stand in front of the mirror, right? So you have to, in your one-on-one with your founders, agree where those metrics will be shared, how they are shared, and also frequency. Do you measure them weekly? Do you measure them monthly? Do you measure them daily? I will not do quarter and so on. We will aim high. Remember, we aim to get to daily metrics. That is the holy grail. That's our destination. We want to be looking at metrics daily, because every business today is incurring costs every day. So today, if you have 4 people that are working 10 hours, you're already committing 40 hours today. You will commit 40 hours tomorrow and day after that. So let us start first by measuring weekly and monthly, weekly and monthly, weekly and monthly. And then let's think and reflect hard about standards. And let me just spend 1 minute to just talk a little bit about standard. Kirori, can you just flip to the standards page? So in my observation in this our Africa and this our Kenya, I found that there are generally 4 standards. You remember, Peter, Michael, you don't deliver, you go home. That is the highest standard of culture. Basically, it's a zero tolerance. It's just say, in this business, we are not going to tolerate, you're not going to survive. Whether you're a partner, you're a vendor, you're a staff member, no matter how senior you are, you're not going to survive in this business if you mess up once. So if I come to your route and I find shops don't have scratch cards, they don't have whatever, there's no story you can give me that keeps you on the job. You go home on that day. Same, when we promised a project for 30 days, we wanted to do it in 90. But Michael said, to get this contract, you have to do it in 30 days. And on the 30th day, no delivery, no explanation, no stories, no meeting to discuss why you didn't deliver, you went home. That standard of tolerance is very, very, it's a high standard. It has little forgiveness. It's not our nature, by the way, as Africans to entertain high standards. It's not in our nature. So today, I can almost tell you, if as a business you manage to have a zero tolerance thing, you will be an exceptionally large business. There's no question about it. You are just a cut above everybody else. There was nothing special about Safaricom. All of those, Peter Arena, all these guys, they went to University of Nairobi here, they were in this market. Then you have low tolerance, which I call 2 mistakes and you're out. Ken, you haven't met 30 days. What's a new deadline? I say, I'm going to deliver in 15 days. Okay, fine. I'm going to have a discussion with you again. And if the second time you don't deliver, so sorry, cheers, you're out. I've seen that a lot. And those businesses still do very well, by the way, because they have a standard. They say, we are going to be forgiving for a bit, but at some point we cut our losses and we move on. Then there is a standard I call uncomfortable conversations. So here we tolerate 3 mistakes. And, after 3 times, we give it a try. If you don't do that, at some point you will leave. I suspect this is where Comini is.
Yeah, we are not at zero.
We are not at zero tolerance. if you met me at Cellulant, I was a zero tolerance guy. I was there. I was inspired by Michael Joseph and all of that. After being fired, I learned that nice habits.
We need to look at the clock, Ken. But I think there's also afraid to confront. But Faith is asking an important question. At zero tolerance, thank you, Abigail. Bye. Please, everyone else, just give us 2 minutes. We promise we'll be out soon. With zero tolerance, will not one seem or sound or arrogant?
Absolutely, and in fact, people will call you arrogant. Like
Yes.
Michael Joseph,
People call him arrogant.
people call him arrogant. People called him arrogant.
But he built Safaricom.
But he built Safaricom.
So you have to choose.
and by the way, remember the people that call you arrogant are not. It's not Safaricom's 50 million customers. Safaricom's 50 million customers
We're very happy.
pay Safaricom 400 billion shillings in revenue. The people that say are arrogant are the 1,000 staff members he probably has fired in his career. So you choose.
I think that has spot on. Love that. Excellent, Jane. It seems to have landed. We have, what about us in a law firm who are afraid to confront? At least I'm glad you know. Mko hapo.
Our are afraid to confront.
Yes. What
Yeah.
about them?
Yes, remember, the metrics and the standards are about customer happiness. So there's somebody that is paying. You're afraid to confront each other because but remember, somebody is paying for that failure to confront, and it's the customer.
We all need to get to zero tolerance, as we are just a step above you, Liz. But I think if we are all measuring, and we know that it's about the customer, we'll get closer and closer to zero tolerance. What is our homework for today? I think what we will do is, because now we have really spent a lot of time talking about measuring, it is a big topic. So let's not be impatient with ourselves. It's going to take time to get there. So we would like you to go and pick the metrics that you're going to measure, debate them with each other amongst yourselves as team members, discuss them with your founder because you're not operating in a vacuum. And then these are the 4 for the company. We'll start with the company, not for yourself, because all those apply to everybody. How, they matter, where you're going to measure them, and basically the frequency. Then go back. You see, like already some people have done the exercise. I think like Frida has gone back to that thing of measuring when they did inaccurate measurements. Liz has already started that thing from June of last year. We want you, once you identify those metrics, you debate them, you say these are the 4 for the company. We want you to go back the last 3 months and tell us what those numbers look like. That is going to be your homework for the coming week. Identify, debate, make sure that there are 4 overall ones for the company, and then thereafter, look the last 3 months and tell us the pattern that you identify. I hope that is clear. Back to you, Kenna.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kwe and Ken, for walking us through that reflection. And yes, that's the homework that's going to be up on the platform. The only last thing I want to mention as housekeeping is that because next week's Friday is a public holiday, we're going to try have the session on Thursday morning instead. And so we'll just reach out to schedule with you and you can see how to plan around that. But yes, I think that will keep us reflecting very hard on the metrics and how we are building them up throughout the week. We can pause there so we release you. Thank you so much and have a lovely rest of your weekend. And happy measuring. We can't wait to hear and see what you come up with. Bye.